Turn this video off now. I mean it. While it is fun to hear how the magic is done, what's more entertaining is trying to figure it out yourself. Keep the mystery alive. What's that? You're still here. Well, okay then. Let's talk about how wrestling pulls off the biggest of all stunts. Number 10, the Royal Rumble 1998 fire spot. I still remember this as a kid. It was amazing. For after Shawn Michaels, the Undertaker had gone to war, Kane arrived, and because he hated his brother, he set him on fire. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? The Big Red Machine used the casket that was a ringside to achieve this, and yep, the pay-per-view ended with the dead man burning to death. It sucked to be him. For years this ruined my brain, but you can actually figure it out. Before Kane and Paul Bearer wheeled the coffin to the entranceway, you will notice that it's pressed right against the ring apron. The reason for this is because there's a trap door on the side of the thing, which meant the Phenom could roll under the squared circle. Otherwise, he would have actually been dead. The reason Kane used an axe to smash this thing to pieces beforehand too is because it produced more oxygen, which meant the fire could burn brighter. I tell you, it's like Blink-182, it's the small things. Number 9, buried alive. The Undertaker had all the hardest gimmicks. As well as the casket match, he had buried alive, which actually was basically the same idea. The latter is way more dangerous though, because yeah, you literally bury your opponent beneath the dirt. That can go so wrong. Have you ever wondered why the setup was usually by the entranceway too? Well, it's because all of this was thought out. Much like before, when you did get hurled into the mud, there was a trapdoor in the side so you could roll to safety before, yes, getting killed. You can't breathe under dirt. That's why the positioning is so important, because you have to build this thing. It's like a theme park ride. It's quite intricate and specific. Mick Foley once mentioned how this empty space then gets replaced with more mud, so again, this deserves way more respect. It sort of underlines how audacious it was. Who even came up with it in the first place? Number 8, Vince McMahon's limo explosion. Well, this one was stupid, wasn't it? On a Monday Night Raw, we blew up a limousine. Why wouldn't we think to do that? It was in the summer of 2007 as the Mr. McMahon character was going to be killed off when the whole thing was dropped due to the Benoit murder-suicide. It was the worst time in wrestling. We still did see the car set on fire, however, so a lot of thought must have gone into this. You can't just turn up to work and plan this on the fly. Numerous people have chatted about this after the fact and even some of the continuity errors. The shot of McMahon's vehicle exploding was filmed before Raw, whereas Vince getting into the thing was during the show. So look at the ground next time you see this, you will notice it doesn't really match. It also meant if you were watching this live as a production assistant, you would have seen Vince get into the limo and then get straight out again, so it was proper Hollywood stuff. Imagine you didn't push play on the pre-tape at the right time. It's gonna look really silly. So it was all kind of dumb, but fair play to the crew who did sort it out. They are very good at their job. Number 7, Randy Orton sets Bray Wyatt on fire. Good grief, wrestling loves fire. Then look at AEW and Jack Perry. A dude can't help himself. WWE lent into this during the pandemic, which I do totally get. Normal sports entertainment was out the window, so you have to come up with new ideas. This was one of them. It also came with a huge plus, because filming things in the Thunderdome didn't actually have a real-life crowd, so that element was done. Don't even worry about it. That is how WWE was able to achieve this too, because they could stop things and tape around it. And if you can, you should. So basically, as soon as the time came, we tricked the cameras and the lines of sight as a puppet version of Bray Wyatt was put in place of the human. Otherwise, we would be setting fire to people. Not good. It's also why you'll never likely see it happen again, because I don't want to go back to this era. That is the only reason it happened. Number 6, the ring collapse spot. The first time we saw this was June 2003. Brock Lesnar suplexed the Big Show, and when they hit the ring, it blew up. It was super cool. Of course, ever since those involved have said it wasn't planned, but if true, WWE most likely would have been sued. I think they'd realize having two giants in there and not reinforcing the foundations would at the very least be unprofessional. No one has ever gone properly on record officially, but when chatting to Chris Jericho on his podcast, Paul White did give us a little bit of insight. He revealed that the use of airbags underneath the wooden boards created the lopsided effect of the collapsed ring. Referee Mike Chioda also talked about this on Chris Van Vliet's show and said something similar. There is a hydraulic system in place to release the pressure as and when needed. So that is sort of badass. Number 5, Braun Strowman tips an ambulance. 2017 was a huge year for Braun Strowman. Nowhere WWE remembered the big guy should be super fun and booked the monster among men accordingly. I mean, the dude started flipping trucks over. Who doesn't like that? Given that Strowman was a former strongman, it was so easy to suspend your disbelief, even though it was silly. I get humans lifting cars slightly off the ground, but this was like throwing a micro machine. It got even better because it was inferred that Roman Reigns was in the vehicle, but of course he secretly snuck out when nobody was looking. Otherwise, this ride was rigged, so while I'm sure Braun did give it a big old shove, a machine basically did all the work. But like John Cena, you couldn't see it. And before Kane gets set on fire, which kind of seems mean given his character, but hey, he was a heel, so screw that guy. Ever since Kane debuted in 1997, fire was the name of the game, which is why a year later, we did an Inferno match, where the point was to set everybody on fire. So it sounds exactly like you would expect, leading many fans to question, well, how are we going to do this? Because I don't really want to see a man's flesh burn. It was all obviously an elaborate stunt that saw the big red machine knocked into the flames, and his arm actually does light up. This was all kinds of crazy. You will notice the real-life Glenn Jacobs instantly ran to the back because, yeah, here we go again. If he didn't, he'd be dead. In 2019, Kane revealed all on the Pardon My Take podcast as WWE went full Hollywood here, right down to wrapping his limb in flame retardant paper and even being shown how to move it around to keep himself safe. So there was a huge element of risk here. Of course, as soon as he was backstage, he was fire extinguished out, checked. I don't think you get taught that in wrestling school. Number 3, the big boss man is hanged. This one is still insane. What were we doing? Because if you decided to just stop watching wrestling at the end of WrestleMania 20, you would have assumed the Undertaker murdered the big boss man. I mean, he literally hanged him from the top of the Hell in a Cell. I think I'm over it. We even had the shot of his lifeless corpse just swaying in the wind. And let's not do this again. It was way too much. It was also ridiculous as the next night on Raw he was fine, which made the whole thing incredible. Even in the make-believe world of wrestling, how did we do this? As it turned out, it was incredibly simple and came down to the boss man's ring attire. As he did basically wear SWAT gear that covered his whole body, WWE built a harness into the thing, so essentially the Undertaker just attached that to a noose. Now again, this was stupid, but in terms of achieving that effect, well, this one was pretty good. Number 2, Shane McMahon's huge falls. Nearly every single fall Shane McMahon took was terrifying. Calling them daredevil stunts is more than fair because they were nothing short of spectacular. The man has massive balls. It's sort of obvious how he pulled this off as you could see it on every landing. WWE had constructed a massive crash pad to try and protect him. And sure, that is true, but I don't want to take anything away from Shane. The margin for error is still huge because even if you're a few centimeters off, bad times are coming. You also have to have complete faith it's going to work, and I tell you, I won't do it. Way too scared. The Mania 32 one is the best as the Undertaker throws McMahon from the top of the Hell in a Cell through a table, which actually looks like a balloon. That's right, we gimmick this thing too, and we didn't really try and hide it. That is good though. We're going to go back to the theme of this video. I don't know whether you know this about me. I don't want anyone to actually die. Number 1, the wrestler emerges from under the ring. So this is why wrestling rocks. It proves it is all just magic, and I love it. Because nearly every time somebody does just magically emerge from under the ring, it gets a reaction, which means by and large the audience hasn't noticed. That's a huge pat on the back for the company in question. It's so simple too because it really is a sleight of hand. Sometimes, sure, the person underneath is there for the whole show. That is so ridiculous, a pay-per-view can go hours. That's why when a group of stagehands come to sort out the ring between matches, the needed performer is just hidden in this pack, and when the video is playing on the big screen as an extra distraction, whoosh, they slip under the ring. There's usually a monitor under there as well so the individual knows when it's time to appear, and this really is one of my favorites. Again, it's why wrestling is just the best. What an amazing thing to craft and then successfully pull off time after time. Cyndi Lauper was 100% right. Know of any other awesome things that wrestling does do to make you feel even more believable? Make sure you let me know in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Then make sure you click that video on the screen right now for even more trivia, but otherwise, you have a terrific game, my friends, and I'll talk to you again soon.